Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We're going to get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to the call. I'm having a little bit of video issues, so I apologize for that. My name is Maria Barakat, and this is the Small Business Goal Setting and Digital Marketing Series. It is recorded and posted and emailed out. So, and I know a lot of you are choosing to do it that way. You're registered. A few housekeeping items. As I mentioned, this is recorded and you'll have access to this and other recordings. So please take advantage of those. All attendees will be on mute. That was a question somebody asked me last week, and I thought that I would mention that. I've been getting great questions, and I'm incorporating them into the following week's trainings. So I will be having a Q&A session probably at the end of the whole Buyer's Journey series. Right now, we're just going through what it is, and then we're going to go through the content of it. So those questions will be answered. For those of you that registered that are new to this call, my name is Maria Barakat. I'm a business marketing strategist. My goal is to help small businesses find the treasure of the customers. And you do that through better content. And that's really the bottom line in today's digital economy. You have to embrace digital marketing as a tool to help you grow your business. It's just the way that it works, and that's what this is all about. So for those of you that are new, just a little bit about me. These are the worksheets that you download from designbearmarketing.com resources. I do email them out. They are available where the recordings are. You will get an email following this with all of that information, so don't worry about it. These are the goal setting sheets, and then we're right now we're into the Buyer's Journey section. So our agenda for today is to review our goal setting tools. We do that every week. We're going to continue mapping your buyer's journey. Today, we are at the experience/use process. So this is very critical in the delivery of your service and your product. And then we're going to end up with our weekly questions. This was part of the original goal setting. These are questions you need to ask yourself every single week. And we're going to highlight which one of those questions is particular to the purchasing and delivery process. Do not overlook these documents. This is just a quick review, but the core principles and your business plan, every business owner should have this done every single year. You should redo it. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's very important. If you don't understand why it's important, then the earlier recordings will address that. That's how this started, as just a goal setting series, and it's turned into something a lot more. But all the foundation of what we do, what I do, is based in these two documents. So I just like to highlight that. So customer journey, that's what we're talking about today. This is that process that people go through to buy you, to make a decision. They're subscribing to your service, they're buying a product, a physical product that they open and use. It is that process that we go through to make that decision versus the customer experience. And back in the day, we didn't really care because things were very different. But in a digital economy, you have to think about what people think, how they feel at every stage of this journey that they go on, and I use emojis because that's how we talk to each other today, and it's very important to think about that. So everything that we do is related to this. And I want to throw in just a little bit of background on the content part, which we're going to talk about after we go through the buyer's journey. But e-content, and I add that little e, because most of your buyers, and it doesn't matter what you offer, if you're a dentist, if you're selling products in a store, big equipment, it doesn't really make a difference. It's done through the internet. We gather our content there. We see your pictures. We read your descriptions. We understand who you are, and we make decisions to buy. And this is something that Getty Images put together. And they have shown that you have a 35% greater ability to sell people with better content, visual and written, and you lose about 80% by having old, outdated content. And what I mean by old and outdated, I don't mean old and outdated from uh, descriptions from 10 years ago. I'm talking about the way that you're presenting it. Design matters, and the quality of the content matters to people today. We have a lot of choice. So I think this is really great to illustrate where we are. For those of you that are new, what's the buyer's journey? It is normally a linear path that you see, and it normally goes from awareness, research to purchase, and then it ends, right? That's why I have the gray line there. I like to bring it through experience and advocacy, and I visualize it as a circle. Because if you can get your buyers to become advocates for your business, that's where the treasure is. That's what I call treasure. And the reason it's treasure is because it allows you to bypass this beginning part, right? So if you remember, awareness is all about problems. So first, a buyer has to determine they have a problem, right? I wake up, my tooth hurts, I need to go to a dentist. So now I'm aware of a problem. Now I need to become aware of dentists, right? It's after the holidays and I want to get fit. So I become aware that I have this need, and now I have to become aware of who can help me solve that problem. I bought a house. I need to put things in my house. I have this problem. How do I solve it? So it seems very simple, but that's what awareness is, right? Then we naturally want to research. So this is where the e-content comes in. By the time we come in and contact you, we've already made up our mind about 57% minimally based on what we read on the internet. Where do we go? Google, of course, and we're reviewing it. So last week we talked about buying. And I think people were surprised that buying is not as simple as just handing you my credit card and it being done. There's two parts. We can still change our mind at the buying process. We still are looking for details. Are we making the right decision? Is this the place? I have other people on my list. Should I go back to them? If they walk away and say, I have to talk to my husband, I have to talk to my wife, I have to do this or that, you could lose them here, right? Today, we're going to talk about the experience of your product, of your service. How do we feel about it? What are we experiencing as we have finished that? And this is a critical aspect to get people to this treasure chest, because how we feel, it doesn't matter how great we felt getting here. It's that moment of purchase. It's the moments afterwards, how you treat us following that product or service is what's going to change everything. So here's our expanded buyer's journey chart. We are in the experience. You'll notice it says deliver and develop, because there's always two sections to everything. Last week, we introduced the human and the non-human aspect of the buyer's journey. And I just want to show you that this number, that roughly 2/3 of a buyer's journey, every buyer, from the person looking for the dentist to buying a car to making a decision about a preschool, it's done digitally. We go to Google. We are looking for your information. And even after we buy, we're interacting with you through email and through your website. So most of that content is all digital, and you need to be aware of that it's non-human. The human part is critical, but the non-human part is all content related, right? Today is really an engagement aspect. It still relates to your content, but we want to know how we're engaging with you, how we're engaging with your company, and what it is that we're doing, right? So it's the experience of buying, right? Where are we, right? At this stage we're in. We already bought. Now what? So is it going to be shipped to me? Am I walking out the door with a bag full of stuff? Did I sign a contract and I have to show up somewhere next week or in a month? What's going to happen, right? It's very important for you to think about what your buyer is thinking at this point. So this is usually when your customer service program kicks in. If you have one, a lot of people don't. We kind of gave this up with the digital world. We said, well, hey, everything's on my website. Well, do you have a customer service aspect to your website? Are you giving people frequently asked questions, and are you letting them to understand and know all the stuff that you used to do before the internet? What is it that exists here, right? This is also when your customers' perception of you and your business change. We are thinking about the money that we've just spent. And I use this image. This is such a great picture because this is the unboxing experience. And even if you're not shipping anything to me, I have an unboxing experience. The minute I hit yes and I'm buying something from you, your unboxing begins. I want to know how you treat me after that moment, what I feel, what I see, what's in the box. So this is an actual thing. It's if you look it up, it's an actor instance of removing a newly purchased product from its packaging and examining its features, typically when filmed and shared on a social media site. So there are unboxing videos on YouTube everywhere. It started mainly with Apple because of the way they packaged their very first iPhone. It became a kind of thing. The scary part is you may not even be aware that people are filming this and posting it on YouTube or Instagram because they're not using your name. But maybe your box is in the picture with your logo on it, and people get an impression of you, of being there. So you have to think about this. This is very critical in terms of what you're doing. So I want to take a look at bad customer service, some statistics. I think it's important that you understand how critical this is. So the first thing, and we talked about this number last week in the actual purchase process, is that 78% of customers have bailed on a transaction or not made the intended purchase because of poor customer service, right? They're in your shopping cart and they can't figure something out or they don't know something. And what's happening is they're like, I'm out. Now, of course, people abandon shopping carts for lots of reasons, but I'm talking about I have made up my mind and now I'm changing my mind. Maybe I'm returning it. Maybe I'm going to bail and say, I don't know, right? My credit card won't go through intentionally. So it's an important number. A typical business hears from 4% of its dissatisfied customers. This is very scary. And this number hasn't nudged in years. Your loudest complainers are only giving you and alerting you to something that most people are thinking, that a lot more people are thinking. So if you've ever lost a customer that doesn't call you back, they're down here, right? They don't want to deal with you. They're just not going to come back. There's something happened. So the buyer's journey is intended to help you to figure out what is happening and why it's happening, right? You should never be afraid of bad reviews because it indicates that there's a problem somewhere that you need to fix, right? On average, loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. So for anyone who has repeat business, you know that this is true. It's wonderful to have customers who buy from you because they're going to buy more from you. If you're giving them what they need, if this is part of that process of your products and services, then they're going to keep coming back. Maybe they're not going to do it every month or every year, but they will come back to you if you treat them right. And also if they give you referrals, right? So this is an interesting statistic. So your probability of selling to a new customer is only 5 to 20%. But to an existing customer, you have a 60 to 70% chance to sell them something else. And this is true. I know this is true of my own business. It's consulting works a little different than product-based, but it's pretty much the same. The bottom line to this is that your existing customers are important. This is the best. It takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one unresolved negative experience. And remember, sometimes you're not even aware that there is a negative experience. So you have to think about this in the experience part of how they feel after they buy from you. And everything that we're doing here with the buyer's journey is about this, that bad customer service reaches twice as many ears as good, right? So what's this? This is the treasure. That's why focusing on the few advocates that you have, even though you say, I have clients say to me all the time, well, I only have 2 or 3 people. Well, that's normal. Those people are talking to people, and you want them to do that. They're helping you. They're part of your marketing department. The bad people you do need to deal with, but most of these people you're not even aware of. You're only aware of the one. So just know how critical that is. So at the moment of purchase, how does your buyer feel? What is it that we're looking for? Well, this is that chart that we used before. This is the buyer's journey, how they feel. They could find the information, they didn't find the information. And now they're buying, right? What's happening in that process? So they finally did it, and we're always happy when we buy stuff because we made a decision and we're like, yay, me, I did it. I finally did and got that thing that I wanted so much, so bad. But then what are you doing to interact with me? Are you going to help me? Am I aware that you're there? Did you send me a thank you note? What is that initial moment after I purchase from you? Am I aware that the shipping's going to come? Did I get a text that said, hey, Maria, we're going to be shipping this on Monday. You'll get a UPS notification. There's all this technology that we can use that we expect. We want to know that we're appreciated, and we want to know what happens next. And you need to be really clear on this. And then there's the really bad experience, right? It doesn't come unexpected. You don't call me back. This is all the worst stuff. So you want to hold it off right here. You do not want to get it here because remember that it takes 10 positive experiences to get rid of this. This is kind of a middle of the road thing, so you can recover. But this is bad. It's bad news. Here is your emoji illustration of what happens when people experience your product, right? Where it's delivered, it's unboxed. They're looking at get started instructions. They might call you. They might deal with a billing department. They might have tech support issues. There might be usage questions. And we all want to be thanked, right? We all want to know that you appreciated us, that we weren't just, next sale. The feeling part comes down here. What was their expectation? Did you meet that? I'm satisfied. Do I understand what to do next? I don't know, right? Or maybe I do know and I'm satisfied with that. Are you clear with me? We don't know. Some people really don't care about that part. They go on to the next, but that's a very small percentage. Most people want to be appreciated, and they have a perception of how their money was spent. And you don't want them to be annoyed or bored or sad or disappointed. You just don't want them to do that. And you really don't want people to be not engaged with you, especially after the purchase. A lot of people walk away totally disengaged with what it is that they bought. And that's not what you're going for here. This portion leads you to this advocacy part. So I'm going to give you a real example. I had a client, I have a client that they have a independent preschool program, very expensive. It's in a large metropolitan area, very competitive market today, putting children in school and paying money out of pocket, right? So they rely on these customers because there's a lot of money involved in the process. So I went in and I surveyed several of their customers, and we outlined their whole buyer journey process. And there was one in particular that I just want to highlight to you that came out later, right? So this family enrolled. They were new to the town. They were thrilled. It offered everything. It was worth the money to them to pay this for their child. So the actual buying experience all the way through was great. Their content was great. The tour was great. The experience was wonderful. They were so pleased to come in and buy. And the school itself was thrilled to have them, right? Because happy customers lead to other customer referrals. But then after the first month, they got this in their email. An invoice that said that they were past due because like many services, you pay on a monthly basis, right? You're not prepaying all of this. And they were very confused. So remember that I actually got a hold of this customer and this is what they're telling me because of what happened. So this is how she described it. She said, well, we were shocked that we got this in our email. We are never late on our bills. We always pay. And I called the number on the bottom of the invoice, and the woman just basically said to me, it was in your paperwork. It's due on the 1st. It's just due, and you were past due. And she was very surprised because she didn't understand that, right? So now she feels bad. She's like, man, she pulls out her paperwork. She looks at it. She reads it. She's like, I don't know. It's just not clear to me. I don't see it. So obviously I misunderstood. And now they begin to misunderstand lots of things. They're wondering, what else? What else is happening that I thought was true that isn't true anymore? And this is a very bad place to be, right? Because when they think that you're not offering, especially when you're doing a service, they're not going to talk to you about it. Most people won't. And what happens especially when you're offering a service where people are paying you monthly, now they have a reminder. Oh, gosh. It's the beginning of the month and I got to pay my bill again. And now I remember that nasty lady didn't talk to me nicely, right? So month after month, these are 10-month programs. So for 10 months, every month, they just were reminded of this experience. And for them, this was a big deal. Some people don't really care. Some people assume, what do you mean I'm past due? It's only the 1st of the month, and they don't really care. But there are a lot of people that do care about that. They pride themselves on that. And the higher the value of your product or service, the more likely that is to be because of the level of income that you're dealing with. So this became a problem because what happened was the teachers had no idea this was happening. None, not one. But they remembered the family because they knew that something had changed. They were so excited when they came in and they were really thrilled to have them here. But when it came time to renew, this family did not renew. They went somewhere else. So they already started shopping not long after this experience. They began to look at other places, and now they were better educated and they knew to ask this question. But the problem was that their paperwork wasn't clear. It wasn't explained to them at all. So that's number one. That means your content isn't doing what it needs to do. Number two, there's a disconnect here. So the person sending out those bills is different from the people that they're interacting with every single day. And we want to know that. So how many times have you ever gone to the dentist and you love your dentist, like the best dentist in the world, and then you get these nasty bills and you don't want to say anything. You don't want to be that complainer, right? So you just silently move away and you don't talk about it in any positive way. Now, they could have renewed, but they're not going to leave you the reviews that you need. This is a high-end product. Some preschools can cost $20,000, $30,000 a year. This is big money to have this one instance and then not have 10 other instances that somehow revitalize the whole situation. And the problem is the disconnect here. Everyone on your team needs to be aware that they are part of this journey and that they participate in what's going on. So you need to be crystal clear. So the first thing they did, just so that you know, is they changed this process completely, and they began to look at the material. So in services like this, there's always a handbook, and they're very confusing because they're thick and there's a lot of details that are in there, and they decided to incorporate a night when they would go through and explain everything in the book to everyone, because it's a big process. And it's a lot of time, and it costs money because you have to pay your people to be there when customers are there. But if you think about it, this is a $22,000 loss to them. Would it be worth paying your employees a little bit of extra money to show up for a night where you explain this process, that you go through it? So you have to look at your own business in that way because of this, right? They just didn't call them back. Now they talked to me because I was a consultant and I was asking, and it gave them a chance to not feel like they were being offensive to the other people. They didn't know who I was or what I was doing. But they freely gave me this information and explained to me as well as what they were doing. So it's important. This experience and usage of understanding what your buyers are thinking is critical. Critical. So your buyers, how easy is this to put together, right? Who can help me figure this out? So even if there's stuff in these bags, if you don't know how to put it on, if you don't know what to do with it, if you don't know, how to handle it, does it have special handling instructions? You don't put it in the light, you don't add water to it, all these kinds of things. People want to know that. Is there an additional cost? A lot of times there is an additional cost. You assume that it was coming with something else and maybe you weren't clear. They were so nice to me before, but, and then you can fill in that blank. And we've all felt that way. How many times have you purchased something and then after you purchased, you just felt like, done, been there, right? People want to know what to do now. So now they're your customer. Are they on your email list? Are you going to stay in contact with me? Are you going to notify me of events? What's going to happen? It doesn't matter what it is that you're offering. We do want to have some kind of follow-up with you. And we don't want to look dumb, right? We live in an information economy. We have everything at our fingertips at our table. So we just do not want to look dumb. That's what's happening. People will say to me, my customers never ask. We don't ask because it's assumed that we are automatically researching it on our phones. They want to know if they misunderstood something. The size was wrong. I don't know. Did I make that mistake? What's happening? And remember my client's customer. Now they're questioning everything. They're did I misunderstand that? Did we misunderstand this? They're not coming in and asking you either. We kind of wonder, are you going to call us, thank us? What is the process? Did you explain it to them and you didn't do it? Hair salons have this problem, and barbers. The first time you go in, they hand you a drink and they're super nice. And then the second time you come in and you have to ask for the drink. And the third time, there's no drink. And you're like, I thought that was what they did. You need to be consistent. And this is where you understand your consistency process. What's happening? The first experience that they had, is it the same as the second and the fifth and the 10th? It's very, very important. And now we're evaluating, is this the best money we ever spent or the worst money we ever spent? We want to know this. We really want to understand what is happening here. So for those of you that are new, this is where you reflect. We keep this short. Because this is the time that you as the business owner need to turn off all your digital and you need to think about what we just went through, right? Customer Service 101. How did we thank them? So this is the first part of the experience. How are you thanking your customers? And then it goes through a whole lot of other things. Were your instructions clear digitally? And is everyone on board? So instructions being clear are digital and human, right? We need to understand that experience. The hair salon, where the first time I went in, they were super nice and handed me coffee and water. And then the third time, I saw them do it to somebody else, but they didn't do it to me. Why? Because I'm a regular. So all of this matters in your experience, because our goal, if you remember, is to get people to talk about you so that you don't have to work this hard anymore. So this reflection process is very important. So let's go through the weekly questions. These are questions we ask every single week. We write them in our planner, no matter what. They're key and critical. How many new emails did you add to your list? Emails is mathematics. It's numbers, right? What were your total sales of the week? It doesn't need to be precise, but you're trying to determine what it is that you're selling and what aren't you selling. That's the goal of that. Did every employee know about your promo and your Facebook ad? For solopreneurs who offer services, you think that's just you. But if you're in a facility, if you rent a building, if you have a common receptionist, do they know? Do they understand who you are and what you're doing? What's going on? This is important. How many new fans did you add this week? These are potential people who can talk about you, right? What was your most popular piece of content? This determines if your content is working, if people are engaging with it. If they're not engaging with it, what was the reason? Maybe it was a timing reason. Maybe it was a quality of the image reason. Maybe it was just we're not interested in it. We don't really care about that. Who was your most engaged follower? This is that advocate. And a complainer can also be in here. Because if you contact that complainer and find out what really happened, first of all, you can turn them around. But second of all, you can avoid that problem in the future. So that makes them engaged, right? But today's question is, how are you improving your customer service? You should be thinking about this every single week. But now I want you to think about it in terms of that unboxing experience. What is it that I feel when I buy? Now I want you to look at your customers. I want you to step back and get in their shoes. You know, right? The director of that school knew that you had to pay by the first. She didn't even think about it because it's just the way we do our business that way. Well, we're new. We're your customer. We want to know that this is how this happens. So it's really important that you go through that. So next week, we're going to go to that final stage. How do we turn that customer experience, those customers, into advocates for you? And how do you treat them? What is that process? Again, it's a customer service process that we will go through. And then the following week, we'll recap everything and we'll go through it and we'll start talking about what content is important at each stage. So for those of you that don't know this, you will receive an email with the links to this and to the prior webinars. If you want to see how I incorporate this buyer's journey into your marketing and strategy, you can just go to my website. Feel free to contact me with your follow-up questions. We don't have time to do Q&A on these because we try to keep them under 30 minutes, which we're just about a minute over, to keep them short and sweet. But I do answer you by email, and we will have a Q&A session at some point in the future. So I want to thank everyone for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week.